protect us, trapping the truth and make your film collectors. Co-T and Mitch ain't even real directors, but they still gonna tell you which movie was better.
Real inspectors.
Hey, what's up? I'm Mitch, and this is Co-T. We're with Shreveport Talks, and we are the real inspectors. We talk about movies that we have seen. And over the weekend, we got the chance to see Dark Tower.
Dark Tower, it's a good movie if you ignore a lot of bad things. So it's very meh for me. It's some stuff I could probably get rid of in it.
I feel pretty much the same way as you do. It's enjoyable, but it could have been better. We actually had the chance to interview some people outside of the theater. Let's hear what they had to say about it.
I thought it was really action-packed, and I liked it a lot, actually.
I enjoyed it. It's visually appealing. The effects were very nice. I've never really read the book, but I enjoyed it very much.
Seems to be a consensus that it is enjoyable, it's very good, and maybe from the perspective of someone who hasn't read the source material, it's even more enjoyable. Can you agree with that, maybe? Or
yeah, I can tell that there's a lot of moments where it's pulled from a book just because of how things are worded, but other than that, I mean, I can't really tell you that it was a book other than the little moments.
Okay, but as a film, did it get you interested in the book series? Did it get you interested enough to actually pick up the book and start reading it?
If I'm told that the book is 10 times better, so now I'm very much so more interested just because of what I saw.
There are a lot of things in the movie that really weren't fleshed out, I guess you would say, like the kind of amusement park scene, so I would definitely enjoy reading the book and kind of knowing more about everything.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, anytime that I've watched books or read books in the past and then seen the movie, I know there's so much detail that's left out. So now I'm curious to see what I'm missing.
Like I said, I mostly agree with you. It's very enjoyable, but it could have been better. And from my perspective, I've read a couple of the books. I haven't got to finish the series yet, but definitely the movie has inspired me to go ahead and finish the series. There was a lot of things from the source material that Stephen King had written that I feel could have been incorporated in this film that just wasn't, and it never took it past that mediocre level for me. Like, it was good and there was a build-up, and then it just never reached out and reached that greatness that I was looking for. Yeah, it was kind of disappointing that I didn't get to see some things on screen.
Yeah, and then I know for me, the portals, I really enjoyed them in it, but you said that the portals are very different in the book.
Yeah, there's a lot more mystical fantasy aspects in the book, and they chose to pretty much go straight sci-fi with the portals, for instance. Whereas in the book, if you haven't read Drawing of the Three, it's the second book in the series, and it's amazing. And that's a really good one if you want to check out the doorways and the portals to the other worlds and stuff. So I feel like there's a lot of room for improvement, and especially since it was so short, there are 7 books here, and they're all pretty long. So in terms of length and the editing, I feel like this was a pilot for a TV show almost.
Yeah, if you cut out maybe 30 minutes of stuff of just wasted footage in there, and you have a perfect pilot for a show maybe on HBO, maybe if you add a little bit more, I guess, cursing and, I don't know.
A little bit more grit.
Yeah.
Definitely something I will say from the books, if they had accurately adapted the books, it would have been a hard R movie. There's tons of violence, and it's definitely not in the PG-13 category, but it seemed like they were trying to market it as more of a kids movie because they had that character of Jake, who is actually one of many characters that the gunslinger encounters, and I feel like they sort of put all of these elements from different characters into this one character so you could follow it more easily and condensed it. And also, like you were saying, there was a lot of filler that even if they were going to make it short, I feel like they could have filled that filler space with more source material.
Yeah. Because the movie is an hour and 35 minutes long. At this point now, for a lot of these kind of movies, we're used to 2.5 hours. So you could have easily taken more stuff from the books to make this movie better.
One of the things that I did like about the movie, though, were all the Easter eggs and the tie-ins, because it did make me feel like I was in a Stephen King movie universe. Because there are spoilers here if you haven't seen the movie, but why would you be watching this, right, if you haven't seen it? So there are some spoilers. There are some Easter eggs in the movie where the gunslinger and Jake encounter this carnival sort of broken down amusement park, and it says Pennywise. And so I thought, oh, are they going to tie this in with the new It movie? But turns out it's not even the same distributors, right? So they're not even going to do that. It's just like more of a shout out to the book universe. And they reference The Shining a lot too in this movie.
Yeah. I know for me, I think a good way for them to kind of bridge it is during the whole carnival scene and everything, they show the darkness, which I thought this was a neat thing, and then they were going to touch on it again. Never touch on it ever again. You see some red clouds later. That is it. And I was upset about that. But I think having Pennywise in It be like something from the darkness that can like transform just like the darkness does will be a great way to kind of have that bridge.
Yeah, I feel like the Dark Tower universe is a place where these unexplained creepy things from his other stories come from. So that could be like a really cool, interesting movie universe that could not really necessarily cross over, but since the movies are all coming out at the same time, it's sort of like they're crossing over because it's all Stephen King. So another thing you were talking about, the length and the editing, you had some issues with the editing that I didn't even catch.
Yeah, I know there's one specific spot that bothered me a lot, was at the end whenever they're having the big final battle and the Man in Black goes through the portal. Throughout the entire movie, portals are just a wall. Just very thin wall. You walk through it, you're there. This one, he goes through it. They show him from the back, his back, him walking through, and he's walking through. Then the next shot is him still on the other side of the portal coming through. And that could have easily been taken out and just made it a little bit more easy to flow.
So most of the problems I think we agree with are maybe with the editing and the screenwriter's choice and the direction they went into, but not so much with the acting, because I really enjoyed Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey as well in these roles.
Yeah, Idris Elba makes you feel like he's this character the entire time.
Completely agree.
He's always super intense in his movies. And then I know McConaughey, I didn't expect him to do as good as he did. I'm not a big McConaughey fan, so I guess
Really?
I didn't have my hopes up for him. And then I didn't even know he was going to be in this movie until I saw the trailers.
Okay, see, I knew that he was going to be in this movie because Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey were actually having this Twitter banter back and forth where they started quoting the opening lines from the first book, The Gunslinger. It's like the gunslinger walked through the desert, and then Matthew McConaughey responded, and the Man in Black followed, and everybody was like, oh, they're going to be in the Dark Tower movie. So I had known that from a long time ago. I was actually pretty pumped about the acting choice because I like Idris Elba a whole lot. Like in Thor as Heimdall is super awesome. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that show Luther, which is a BBC show. He's a great actor. I thought Matthew McConaughey pulled it off well. I actually am a Matthew McConaughey fan, so I kind of disagree with you there. So yeah. I like everything, most of what he's been in.
And I know another thing you and I disagreed on as well was the
kid.
Yeah, Tom Taylor, who plays Jake in the film. Mm-hmm. I guess they focus so much on him that I expected a lot more from him.
Okay.
So
I hear what you're saying, but I feel like the kid did have a pretty good range for being thrown into that crazy fantasy world, and I've seen some child actors really approach really complicated fantastical worlds like that with you have to be a good actor to do it, and I think that he pulled it off well, and I think that he had a good chemistry with the lead, especially because spoilers again, but they both don't have a father, and I feel like that was played out pretty well with the compare and contrast with the characters, and I feel like he pulled it off. I enjoyed his performance more than you did. Yeah,
I know for me, just with I think the movie in general, it may have just been the writer's fault, but for me, Roland, you understand why he doesn't have his father. They show it, and I think that's a great scene. But then you got Jake, who during his, it's just they tell you it like 5 different times. It's like, oh yeah, I don't have a dad. Oh hey, I don't have a dad. And it's just I felt like it was too much, and it was like, oh yeah, by the way, this character is this, and I was like, if you could have just told me it once, I got it.
Right.
But I think it also could have been that this movie was semi-targeted towards a younger audience compared to what it probably should have been.
I think it could have been done better maybe if it was an HBO original show, or perhaps they had gotten a more independent director who could take the source material and all this strange, weird stuff and put it together in an interesting way that people find fresh and new. Then it could have like really gone past that point and reached that greatness, I feel like. So, also, It hasn't gotten the best reviews either, and it hasn't made the most money at the box office either.
Yeah, the movie was $60 million to make, supposedly, and it only made the opening weekend worldwide. It made $27.5 million.
Ooh.
So it almost hit halfway of its budget.
Okay, so is that kind of like pretty much confirmation that they probably won't make sequels, at least in the same universe?
They tried to open it up at the end, which it didn't make sense, seeing as the main villain from all the books is, I guess, dead.
Right.
Spoilers, I'm sorry.
And when I started watching the trailers for this movie and I was on book 2, about to start book 3, I was noticing that they were revealing stuff that I hadn't gotten to yet. And this was the first movie, so I was like, well, this is probably going to be one of those condensed movies that tries to cover everything. And it was, so I went in expecting that. So it wasn't as bad when I was actually watching the movie, because I had expected it for a while. And I did end up having a good time. Like, I thought the choreography was really good, the acting was good, the action was cool. It was an interesting movie that may get people interested in reading some really badass books.
Yeah. Now, honestly, I think what they should do is maybe in a couple years try again with this. And, Game of Thrones, probably Westworld will probably be off HBO. Mm-hmm. Perfect show to kind of take its place.
I agree. I think that they would have a lot of room to really bring out the good qualities of the book and do it all the way through like they did the Game of Thrones show. Mm-hmm. And I think Dark Tower is perfect for that. I do not think Dark Tower is perfect for a quick popcorn movie that you just get from A to B, because it's a little bit more complicated than that. It has more meat. So I would like to see it fleshed out more. So let's rate this thing, okay? So we got a scale from 1 to 10. It's a 1 to 10 piece Southern classic. So what do you give this?
I'd probably say easily an 8. Definitely recommend. It's a very good movie.
Oh, an easy 8, if not 9.
With all the good things in it, but still all the bad things in it, I'm going to have to give it a 5-piece. 5-piece special right here.
A 5-piece. Only halfway there. See, I'm a little bit more kind to this. I want to give it maybe, I said 6.5, maybe 7, but since that's not really something you can order, I'll give it a 6-piece. So one more than you. 6-piece Southern classic.
All right. Well, you got how much chicken we're going to be eating.
Yeah.
And this is where we ran out of space on the card. So let us know in the comments down below on what you thought about the movie. Make sure to like and subscribe. And this was Co-T and Mitch, the real inspectors, here with Shreveport Talks.